Welcome to the science section of the College Initiative's ACT Prep video series. We're going to do a brief overview of the stats regarding the science section, then I'm going to give you some tips regarding the mechanics of the section itself. After each step, I'm going to let you practice these skills. So the stats. The science section is 40 questions long and you have 35 minutes to complete them. The questions focus solely on your ability to extract data from graphs, so it's essentially more about reading than science. If you can isolate data from the graphs, you need little to no outside information about science to be successful in the science portion. As I've said, this is all about being able to read graphs and quickly. You'll need to digest what the graphs and tables tell you and be able to refer to them to answer questions. Step 1. Underline the titles of every graph and table. Your questions will refer to specific tables, and when you can locate them quickly, you'll be able to pick up easy points. Once you've underlined them on the graphs themselves, scan your questions and underline any mention of the graphs or tables in the questions. Next, circle the units of each graph and table. Once you figure these out, you're going to write a quick summary out to the side. Finally, step 3, move to your questions using each stem to direct you to the right graph or table. The questions will usually ask you for a piece of information or to compare the pieces of information. Let's practice these out really quickly. So again, step 1 asks you to underline the titles of every graph and table. So here I'm going to make note of experiment 1. Notice this is a big chunk of text here. You're going to use the skills that you use from the reading comprehension section on any kind of chunks of text. You're going to underline this graph / table 1. You might make a quick note that it's about temperature, time, and distance of ring from the swab. Same here, underline table 2, underline table 3. Do a quick read of this, and then you should be able to tackle the questions. So question number 1. Which of the following best describes the difference between the procedures used in experiments 1 and 2? In experiment 1, so we've got to figure out what's going on in experiment 1. We're going to go back to experiment 1, text, swab, so HCl solution. Notice we're skimming here. The reaction was done at different temperatures. So we can either get it from there, or we can look at table 1 and notice that the temperature is being varied by the person conducting the experiment. So that means temperature was varied. That's going to be one that we can potentially keep. Diameter of tube was not varied. Distance between swabs was not varied. Temperature was varied. So we have A and D, which are potential correct answers. So we need to look at experiment 2 and see if it was the diameter of the tube that was varied or the distance between swabs. Now that I've marked where experiment 2 is, I'm going to see what happens here. Experiment 1 was repeated, but the temperature was held constant at 20 degrees Celsius, and the diameter of the tube was varied for each trial. What was varied? Diameter of the tube. So we know not D, it's going to be A. Temperature was varied. In experiment 2, diameter of tube was varied. It's really easy if you know where to look for these. Otherwise, you're going to get bogged down in all of this data. If you circle these, if you have a brief summary of what's going on in the experiments, it's going to be really simple for you. Question 2, and we're only doing 2 questions because it's the same process for every single one. If you get those 3 steps done, you're not going to have any issues. So which of the following sets of trials in experiments 1, 2, and 3 were conducted with identical sets of conditions? So we're going to look table 2, table 3, table 1. So all we're going to do, trials 2, 3, and 4, we look at these and see if they've got the same sets of conditions. Now bear in mind, and you probably know this already, but these are the 2 things that the person conducting the experiment can control. This is what changes. Distance of ring from the HCl swab. So we're looking at 2, 3, and 4. Are they at the same temperature? No. Are they at the same time? No. So we're going to go ahead and say no to those. 1, 5, and 9. Let's check that out. 1, 20, 33. Those are the 2 things that we're going through. 5. Notice there's not a temperature thing. So we need to look up here. Temperature held constant at 20. Okay, so 20 times 33, 9, 33. So let's say for a second it's probably going to be 1, 5, and 9. Let's check 4, 7, and 9 really quickly just to verify for temperatures at 50. We automatically know that in table 2, all of those are going to be at 20. So that means that our answer is going to be F, trials 1, 5, and 9. So again, if you didn't realize that the temperature was held constant at 20 degrees Celsius here, you might have had a hard time with that, which is why you've got to make sure that you summarize your experiments, that you circle the units so you can note those differences. Now, like I said, there is one section of reading on this. You're going to use the skills that you gain from the reading comp section for that section itself. Key takeaways: underline graph titles, circle units, and use your question stems to direct you to the proper table. If you do those things, you're going to come out of this test section really, really well. So as always, that was the science section of the ACT Prep video series. Check out our other ones on our YouTube channel.